For all things outdoors, listen to the father of two, the Jesus-loving TV show hosting hairy, true-blood American redneck, Ben Cole.
And listen to the outdoor filming, chef cooking, chocolate milk drinking, John Weismuller. And we are
Rooted Podcast. Have you ever wanted some high-end products out in the woods? Look no further than our friends at R.W. Coolidge. They make duck straps, they make bags, they make gun cases. Whether you want canvas or leather, they got you covered. So for this hunting season, check out R.W. Coolidge for all of your needs. Hey, Ben, how we doing, brother?
Brother, we are doing good, getting ready to head back to Arkansas today. Try to get after those ducks again. You know how I am. I can't stay out of the duck woods for very long.
No, man, that stuff will take over your life now if you ain't careful with it. But, you know, it's only for a few months, so we got to get it while we can, right?
That's exactly right. You know, this is the last month of regular duck season, and then we dive into conservation season with the snow geese. So I am ready to kill some mallards and other ducks because, you know, I'm not a purist, so I'll kill whatever the good Lord swings into the hole for us. So, yeah, man, we are we're headed down there today, going to have a good time and film some Rooted television and, you know, just be good old Americans.
So, you know, Ben, this whole Christmas season, you know how you always hear the thing like reason for the season?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always kind of hear that, and I was thinking earlier today, like, you know, here I am, me and you are doing this podcast, and we film a show, and I was always just like, well, what's the reason of why we hunt and fish and go outside, right? Like, what's the reason for that season? So I was kind of pondering on that, and I think that's what I want to talk about today with you is why do we hunt? Why do we fish? Why are we conservationists? And I want to dive into that. So let's talk about these ducks in Arkansas for just a second. Like, why do you love to duck hunt? What does duck hunting do for you?
Well, that's a two-part question there. You know, first of all, duck hunting for me, being in the woods, period, for me, is being really close to God because that's what He created for us. You know, you can look at Genesis 9 where it says, you have dominion over all the critters, paraphrase, obviously, but, you know, it says about, there's Genesis 1:9, and that talks about how we have dominion over the animals. So, you know, but that's not to be taken in as fact or a sense of, well, hey, we can just go out and wipe out all the animals because we have dominion over them. You know, we've been given a task, and that's to oversee conservation. We have to watch out for these animals. Yes, we do have to harvest animals. That is part of the deal. That is part of being in conservation, is making sure the population is at a sustainable number, first of all. Second of all, we eat these critters. We eat the ducks. We eat the geese. We eat the deer. We eat all that stuff. So, in fact, my wife makes some of the best deer chili I've ever eaten in my life. And I love it. I mean, that's what we live on is deer meat, especially during the wintertime. That is all we run is deer meat at our house, deer and ducks. Mainly deer meat because there's so much meat on a deer. You know, the ducks don't last very long. But we do you know, eat a lot of that stuff. But what I'm getting at is it's about being in God's creation and about, you know, taking care of what He has given us. That's what it's about. And that goes back to the conservation I was just talking about. But for me, that is the most important two aspects of it is spending time in God's creation and conservation and feeding the family. Actually, that's three things. So that's what I got on that. What about you? What's your standpoint on it?
Well, you know, I'm kind of hearing a few things, right? There's the avenue of food, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hunt to gather food to then feed my family and friends. And then there's the avenue of just straight conservationist, right? I hunt to help the herd and also we do things like food plots, and we do habitat thing, maybe like burning a field or cutting out some timber, right? So there's that avenue of I'm helping the animal, and then there's the spiritual avenue of, I go there for some peace of mind, right? Some quiet, some
Mm-hmm.
being closer to God. So there's those three avenues, I think, are the main reason of why I hunt, and I'll dive into this a little bit further. So let's kind of take this like lane by lane, right? So
Yeah.
let's just take the food aspect of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I I only shoot things that I eat. Okay, I'm not just gonna shoot a deer and let it lay and just take horns and back straps. Like, no, we eat everything that we can.
Mm-hmm.
Now listen, organs. Look, folks, I'm out on that, but I got a buddy that eats it, so I get the heart and the liver for him, and I tell him to have at it. I'm all the way out on eating liver and heart, but listen, if a buddy wants it, I'm all in on that. But
Mm-hmm.
here recently in life, uh, I've just recently got married, and I'm in this family now that hasn't hunted. They are not from a hunting family, uh, and so I'm introducing this new life to them, and they luckily they are very open minded, and they're willing to try all these things. So I shot this that a buck I shot this year. I've got it made up, and I got some of it, like the back strap sliced, and I got some of it ground, and some of it made for roast, whatever. So my lovely wife made we made tacos the other night, and she absolutely loved it. And she had never really eaten venison before, but now she's all the way in. She knows that it's healthy, way healthier than this big farming that's going on. Like, I mean, it's really crazy out there. You can let's just look at the beef industry, right? I mean, when in human history have humans just had all these cattle lined up in a warehouse, just single file, right, ready to be taken and then processed and moved on from there, versus going out and getting your own food and knowing where your food comes from. I mean, that's how it used to be, not that long ago either. I mean, it's not like this was 10,000 years ago. This was just a few hundred years ago, not even, maybe just 100 years ago now. I mean, I can remember my grandmother talking about growing their own food, and then grandpa would go hunt, and that's how they would eat. I mean, so it's really cool to bring that into my new family now, to where they can really understand, like, this is where the food comes from. I can show you exactly where it came from. This is what this deer ate around here, right? Acorns and grasses and different things we planted in food plots and whatever. And it's like, it's really cool to share that with somebody. Like, hey man, this is the most purest organic form of meat, and it was right here.
So to add to that, you're talking about family and coming into a family, and that didn't hunt and all that. So my family on my wife's side um, had never been around it much either. So when I come into the picture, of course, I come in guns a blazing. Hey guys, we're
Oh
gonna hunt
yeah.
and we're gonna eat all these critters and all that stuff. And everybody's like, man, I don't know if I want to do all that. And I was like, well, here you go. And
Too bad.
I went and killed some turkeys, right? Because turkeys are the gateway to all wildlife. You taste one turkey and you want all of them. They're delicious.
Oh
So I
yeah.
started out with that, John. I started out with a buttermilk base that I let the turkey nuggets soak in for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then I took them and put them in the catfish batter, crumbled them up real good, got them real covered, and I used the Creole catfish batter. Now, it's different than just the regular batter. The catfish batter is crunchy. and I like crunchy batter on turkey for some reason. I don't know why, but I do. And man, we fried that stuff up, and before I could get all of it fried up, it was gone. The plate was empty every time it came out. I was like, heck yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Now we are showing
Yeah.
everybody what this deer meat is like. And then after that, everybody's like, hey, this is awesome. We need to do this every year. And then my wife started cooking that awesome deer chili. And guess what? Everybody loves deer chili. It is phenomenal. She makes I have to say, John, and I haven't tried yours or your dad's, but so that's no knock on y'all because I know y'all cook like out of this world.
Hey man,
But
there's nothing better than mama's cooking.
listen, my wife makes the best deer chili on the planet. And if there's somebody else out
Heck
there
yeah.
that thinks they make the best deer chili on the planet, I'm sure it's delicious. I'm sure it's wonderful. Not trying to knock
But it
anybody,
ain't hers.
but my wife's is outstanding. I love it, man. There's nothing better than that, and I don't even know what all she uses in the recipe, but I do know that it is phenomenal. And it took the turkey and the deer meat in the chili, in the nuggets, to really open people's eyes and say, "Hey, this stuff is actually really good." So, I mean, for the longest, that's
Well,
all my child would eat was deer meat.
wow. And that's awesome, man. Because it's like, I think people get really confused that aren't in the hunting world, right? Because, listen, me and you both know some good old redneck boys that have ruined it for everybody, right? They just act
Oh
a
yeah.
fool, right? They shoot the deer and they take the back straps and then they leave the rest, or they do something
Mm-hmm.
dumb, or they just don't eat it, or they like, and then people will get a negative connotation on like, oh, you hunt, you must just be a blah blah blah. It's like, man, whoa, hold on a minute. There's a lot more that goes into this. And once you sit there and you explain it to them, right, and you're like, listen, there's this is why I do this. This is one reason why, deer nuggets or turkey nuggets, right, or deer
Mm-hmm.
chili, or any of it, and it kind of opens up their eyes, like, because I I had someone tell me before that they didn't understand why, like, whenever we shoot something, we get so excited, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much. Like, I'm not fist bumping Ben because we killed an animal. That's 0% why I'm doing that. The reason I'm fist bumping Ben is because we just got food, because all of our hard work just paid off. Now, in our case, we probably filmed it, so there's an added level of, kind of difficulty, and I won't say stress, but, a little
It
bit
is
more of like
stressful.
something else
It
to get done,
Hey,
you know?
look, it is stressful, man. Don't underestimate it. Filming a hunt is not easy. There is 50,000 moving parts, and if you're trying to film it for production like we do, dude, your shot is way more
It's a
important than
lot.
mine. Yours, Ryan's, whoever's with us, their shot is
Mm-hmm.
far more important than my actual kill
Oh, yeah.
shot, because without y'all, guess what? The show don't happen. That's just it. That's
Yeah,
just all
man.
there is to it.
So it's like, I'm trying to explain to this person that there's so much more. So, like, I really think people just in general, right? There's a lot of hunting people out there that post just the kill shot, right? And just the, oh, I got him, and it's like, and listen, that's part of it. I'm not saying that I've never done that. I do that every time, and will continue to do so. But there's a reason it got to that point, and it's these three different lanes that we're talking about of why we hunt, and then finally a plan comes together, it all unfolds, you put a perfect ethical shot, and put food on the table, and it just really 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 puts a bow on it, and it's just nice when it all comes together. So um but I do want to say some more stuff about this food, just really fast, like uh so you obviously know my now father-in-law, Rich.
Poor little Richie.
He was so excited. Poor little Richie, man. So he just got into hunting, right? And he shot his
Mhm.
turkeys, and we'll have him on to tell that story one day. But so
Oh yeah.
anyway, we still have the turkey breast in the freezer, And you may be like, well, man, turkey season was a while ago. Why do you still have it in the freezer? This is the coolest thing, man. So, and this was all poor little Richie's idea. He said, I want to wait till my son comes in. His son lives in New Mexico. I want to wait till he comes in for the holidays and we go out, right? We're all together, whatever. And I want to prepare that turkey for him as well. I want my whole family to try this wild turkey. And I was like, dude, that's really cool, man. That like this new hunter, right? But he gets it. It's not about just him eating this turkey. He wants to share it. And I just thought that was really awesome. That that was totally his idea, and he wants to get his son involved in it. Like, listen, you need to come out turkey hunting. And by the way, here, try this turkey that I got, and it'll make you want to hunt even more because they're delicious.
Yeah, no, that is a super cool thing, man. And there's nothing like sharing your harvest with your family and your close friends, man. Feeding people is one of my favorite things. And one thing, that I do participate in if I have enough for my family is hunting for the hungry. So what I'll do is I'll go and kill
Yeah,
a couple deer and just to feed people, man. Just simply
it's
so
awesome.
I can have a hand in helping somebody else. Cause dude, I love helping people. I absolutely love it. And what you were touching on earlier, I'm not going to knock the cattle farmers and all that stuff because those dudes work really hard to make a living.
Sure they
I've
do.
been there, done that, and I have a whole lot of respect for those guys. And they do a really good job of taking care of the cows and all that stuff. You're really getting some pretty good stuff. But when you talk about deer meat and fowl of any kind is untouched by man at all.
Mhm.
It's all God's food. That's what they were put here for, just like cows and everything else is put here for food, right? So let me rephrase that. Not everything else. Animals are put here for food. Um, so so man, that's what we love to do is we love to do the hunting for the hungry. And, sometimes we have an overpopulation of does, right? And we have to go in and take out a certain number of
Yeah.
does for that property. And guess what? If we can't eat it all, well, by golly, I'm going to go and I'm going to pay to have it processed and I'm going to give it to somebody that needs it. So that way the deer still is consumed. That's the whole point, is for food. And we want to be able to provide that for anybody. If somebody called me today and said, hey, I need some deer meat, I would walk outside and kill a deer, take it and have it processed and take it to them. Plain and
Yeah.
simple. I love feeding people. I love it. There's nothing like it. And I'm so glad that our great state of Tennessee has that program, the Hunting for the Hungry. And I'm sure there's other states that do. This is just where we do
I'm sure.
majority of our deer hunting is right here in the great state of Tennessee. So, I just, I have a lot of respect for the state for doing that, to take care of people and with what God has given us to take care of people with. I mean, that's the whole point, right? Is to feed,
Oh yeah.
eat, and clothe. Gosh dang, we can clothe ourselves with a deer too. I'd love a deer fur jacket. Are you kidding? That would be awesome. I'd look like a real
That
Paul
would be pretty
Bunyan.
cool.
Yeah, I'd be daggone Paul Bunyan, man.
Have have that and then get you like a raccoon hat or something.
Oh yeah, beaver hat with that big old tail sitting in the back. Wouldn't that be
Oh
something?
man.
Or have the tail as the
Yeah,
bill
dude.
of the hat?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, with this whole farming thing, like, obviously I eat beef and, chicken
Hmm.
and, fish, whatever, all these things that come from farming. It's just really nice to have wild game and know where it comes from versus
Yep.
just buying beef at a store that,
Yeah.
you have no idea
Hmm.
what's going on. So, but so that's kind of the feeding, the food side,
Hmm.
right? And then again, there's two more lanes to talk about, right?
Yep.
So let's dive into the conservation side of it. So just for the simple fact, like baseline foundational fundamentals, right? The bottom line is, let's just talk deer hunting for the moment, right? Deer obviously repopulate every single year, basic stuff. Okay, so obviously your numbers, let's say you don't hunt, your numbers are just going to keep going, and then there's going to be too many deer, and they're going to cause all sorts of trouble, whether that's running out in the road and causing people to wreck, whether that's eating up all of the farmers' fields, or even just people's flower beds, or maybe there's so many deer that now they're catching and spreading diseases faster and more often than they normally would. There's all sorts of different things that can happen if hunting isn't there to kind of keep the population in check.
Well, that's right. And starvation is another one that you got to think of. If the population gets to a point to where the browse can't handle it in the area. Now, granted, an acorn flat's going to have thousands and millions of acorns, right? Of course, they're going to have plenty to eat, but it's only for a short amount of time because those acorns start to rot around the first frost. They start rotting, and then that food source is gone. So then what do they have? It's this vicious cycle because everything's dead right now. That's the whole point in conservation for me, is providing deer with food throughout all of the year. So they have everything they need throughout the season. There's never a downtime. There's never a time when they don't have everything they need, because without having everything that they need, they're not going to grow healthy does, are not going to grow healthy fawns. They're not going to have big antlers. They're not going to have the stamina to handle the rut or the cold. I mean, dude, it hadn't snowed this year, but it will. It's going to happen. We're just kind of waiting on it to happen. It snows here every year, and it usually snows pretty hard here every year. So the winters are a lot tougher up here than they are like in South Georgia and stuff. And, if it wasn't for the amount of, I would say, farmland, agriculture, peanuts, and stuff of that nature in South Georgia, dude, they couldn't handle the deer population they've got. It is unbelievable. You've seen it. Me and you were down there. And, man, it was unbelievable the amount of deer that were just everywhere you look. There's deer everywhere. Whole lot of does and a whole lot of bucks. And, man, it's just unbelievable what it takes to truly sustain a big herd of whitetail. And that's why, I go in and I'll plant the corn, the soybeans. Guess what? The soybeans get them all through the summer, spring and summer. They're covered. They have everything they need. Because not every plant in the wild has enough protein and fat. Now, does it have a lot of fat? Absolutely. It has everything they need to survive. But we want to take that and make them flourish. We want to go from survival to flourish. That is the point that I'm trying to make here, is we plant all this stuff and we do all this work with the minerals and everything else that we do just so that these deer can flourish.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. It's like, because, I'm just trying to imagine, right, like a place, let's just say where ag is just huge, like Iowa, right? It's just big farmland and a lot of deer hunters and a lot of food plots. Like, if you just took that away, oh my goodness, dude. Those farmers would feel that impact for sure, because they're the only thing growing around. All the browse, is mostly gone this time of year. Like, oh my goodness, man. And there's a ton of deer up there. Like, it would be really rough. So it's really important that as a hunter, right, you do your part all throughout the year. Whether that's corn and soybeans, whether that's a clover plot, whether that's a mineral site, like whatever that looks like, And also, not even just food, we can talk about habitat. I mean, we've done stuff. Let's for example, turkeys, burning a field, right? Like, there's a ton of stuff you can do habitat wise that wouldn't happen if we weren't here. Point blank and simple.
Yep, that's exactly right. It's like, you talk too more about the habitat, and when you get into the trapping side of things too, we've talked about it before on here, but we took
Mhm.
that farm, we set out a bunch of raccoon and coyote traps, and we ended up with, you know, an unbelievable amount of raccoons trapped and possums. And guess what? Our turkey numbers have quadrupled. I literally just got a
Yeah.
picture the other day from those Wise Eye cameras, and it had 12 longbeards in one picture in one
Dude,
spot of the
talk
farm.
about the talk about the deer hunt we were on. Me and Ben went deer hunting the other
Yeah,
week or two ago, whatever it was, and
yeah.
we're sitting in the blind, and we start hearing a bunch of commotion, and we walked in at dark, so that these turkeys didn't see us, and we didn't see them, and
Mhm.
they were roosted. I mean, I don't know, 50 yards, 70 yards, whatever it was, to the left of us on this tree line,
Right on the
and
edge of
it
the
was at
field.
least 15 to 20 longbeards, all of them
Yep,
longbeards,
yep.
and it's like that's what happens when you just care. You just take that extra little step. Listen, I'm not a
Yep.
trapping expert. Neither is Ben per se,
Nope.
but he's way better than me at it. But the point is, he doesn't have this big, huge 1,000 traps. You got, I don't know, what, 10,
20.
15,
I got 20
20?
leg
Yeah,
holds for
whatever it is.
raccoons. And guess what? I'm no expert at trapping, man. I take Friskies catnip and just pour it in there, and that's it. That's all I
And there
do.
you go.
Then I leave it and see you later. I go check it every day,
Mm,
and I don't do that during
yeah.
deer season because I don't like all the traffic through there. But after deer season, there's going to be extra
Mm-hmm.
traffic anyway because we're starting to till fields, and you know, like this year, for example, I've got a forestry machine coming in to open up some food plots up top on top of the mountain, so that way those deer that live up there majority of the time can have a place to eat a clover and stuff like that, because man, it's going to take at
Yeah.
least 10 to 15 years to condition that soil to grow anything else. So we really have to start with like a clover that can handle the acidity of the soil. We've got to have that. So, that's just kind of one of the things that I look at when it comes to that is, what are you doing for your 5 to 10 year plan? And part of that is
Mm-hmm.
trapping, land management, as far as putting in new food plots, forestry machines, all that, and then the big ag. So, but we also want to make sure that those deer and turkey have the proper cover that they need to sustain their population. So that's why we have these safety zones where nobody goes in there ever unless it's to retrieve a deer. That is all. And I don't even go in there during trapping season, man. I'll trap along the edges of it, but I don't go in it.
Mm-hmm.
I let that be their safety zone. And you know, that really makes a big difference because then you go from having deer that pass through your property to living on your property.
Yeah. And that's a big difference.
It is. When they're living there, buddy, that's when you start to see
You. Mm-hmm.
exponential growth in your bucks and your does, and number of fawns will start to grow. Because let's face it, you're never going to trap all the coyotes. When you trap one, another one shows up. It's just a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
But you put pressure on the predators, they back off and they may, not be as prevalent. They may not live on your farm anymore. They may cross through every now and then, but they're not going to live there per se. So
Yeah.
that's the difference, man. I mean, it has made a world of difference for us. Even our deer numbers, man. We've had a huge influx of deer just by
Yeah.
planting the food plots. And I mean, you saw that big old wheat and turnip field that I've got over there. It's beautiful. And that's just part of
Yeah.
the labor of conservation. It's not easy. It is a lot of hard work.
Mm-mm.
There is absolutely nothing easy about conservation, but it is very enjoyable and it is very rewarding. It's work that I would never consider
Yeah.
work. It's just life, man. It's
Nah.
just living and taking care of
Yeah.
your critters. People think I'm crazy when I say,
Yeah.
well, I farm for wildlife, but it's not crazy. Because guess what?
Yeah.
I see that as God's grocery store, and all I'm doing is tilling the soil and making it as the best I possibly can with the resources that He has given
Yes.
me to work with.
We're just getting maximum output from what's already there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
That's
it.
it.
Like
That's it,
it
man.
really is just that simple. It's
Mhm.
and and I think it's really funny because I we talk to people who don't hunt all the time, and
Mhm.
and I'm trying to again explain, like, they're like, so wait a minute, you killed this thing, but yet you care for it. It's like, well, look, I'm only mad at turkeys for like a month and a half, and then the rest of the year I love them. Like, I'm trying to do everything I can do. I'm planting chufa, right? I'm trying to clear out some woods to make it easier for them to walk through. I'm
Mhm.
doing all these things that I can do. Give them everything I can. Give them a safe place to live. All that trap, everything, whatever I can do to help them. And yeah. Whenever turkey season starts, I'm ready to punch them in the face. But after that, it's all about helping them. So
Yeah.
uh, it is kind of a hard thing to talk about and explain to somebody. But yeah, I mean, I care about those deer and turkeys a whole lot, and I promise you this: I know more about a turkey than any person who doesn't like hunting or doesn't like me turkey hunting. It's like I care and know way more about that turkey than you'll ever even think about. So that's another reason of why we do this. It's like, I promise I know a lot about that animal and
Well,
care deeply
you want
about it, and
a
that's
lot of
why
people
you know
go into the
yeah
whole organic thing these days. We are OG organic people. I mean, we're the
yeah man
original gangsters, man. You know, I mean, we are the guys out there
yeah
eating organics. Organic is not tofu. That's not organic. Do you know how many critters have to die for tofu to live? That's not organic.
oh man.
Organic is
Ugh.
what God put on the earth for us to consume that has not been touched by man, i.e.,
Yeah,
wildlife. Plain and simple. If you want to
well,
go
and then it's
organic
like
and plant your own corn and your own stuff, plant your own garden, you know? But don't tell me
yeah,
that
heck yeah.
don't tell me that I am a murderer because I take the life of an animal. But let me tell you something. I'm going to be real frank here. A plant is a living organism. It lives. It is a living organism. That is just part of life. Death, consumption, part of life. We are the apex of all of it. That's how we
Happens.
were created.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter if you're harvesting soybeans or, eating tofu or whatever. Something had to die for you to eat, period. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
That's just all there is
especially, listen, like all these vegetables and lettuces and things that, listen, I personally, I like salads, and I also like vegetables, beans all the way out on all that rabbit food, which is fine
Sign
and
me
dandy,
out.
you
I
know.
don't eat what my food eats.
But listen, you know how many critters have to die for you to eat your lettuce? And listen, I'm not talking ducks and turkey. I'm talking every little bug, mouse, you know, whatever
Hmm.
little rodent dies, and then combining it up, and deer get slaughtered and all this. It's like, listen, your hands aren't clean because you're a vegan or a vegetarian or a whatever. Like, there's a lot of critters that die with that too. It's just part of it. It's just how it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you know, um, man, talk about that a little bit. Dude, the good Lord didn't put us on this earth to be simply vegans, I don't think. I don't think it matters either way, really. But I think, I do know that in the Bible it does say that, you know, God said, "Hey, this food is good to eat. Cloven hooves, except for hogs in the beginning."
Yeah.
Now, in the beginning, you could not eat hogs; they were considered dirty. But later, when they went to the Gentiles, I'm pretty sure it was Paul. Now, guys, look, I'm paraphrasing. I may not be 100% correct on this, but what I'm getting at is there was a sheet let down from heaven and God said, "Hey, this is clean. You can eat all of these things." And guess what? That's why I'm here. I'm not Jewish. I'm a Gentile. I am. That's what I am, and I am so thankful that the Lord did that so that I could be saved too. And send His Son to die on the cross for us. I'm thankful for all that, man. There's nothing greater than that, except for watching your children come to know the Lord. That is probably the greatest blessing of all time. That and watching your children be born, that's the closest glimpse of heaven we will ever see on earth.
I'm sure that is pretty wild to see, like literal life being born. That's
Yep.
Hopefully one day in life I'll get to experience that, but for the moment I will live vicariously through you.
Hey, my two little youngins love you to death. Oh, Uncle John.
Oh yeah,
man.
oh yeah. Hey, I love them, man. They are awesome. Oh yeah. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I pretty much crushed the uncle gig, man. Raina loves it. Your two kids love it. I mean, now I'm like top tier uncle, so I'm trying to keep that status before I become a father. It's gonna be a wild time. Even just saying that, I mean, that's a wild concept, man. Being a dad, that's kind of wild.
Being a dad will change your life forever. It will. It will show you that you can love something more than anything on the face of this earth, including yourself. That's it.
It's crazy.
It's unbelievable, man. It is, and it really shows you how God looks at us. Now are we looking through the same lens He is? No. But what I'm getting at is when He looks at you and He's proud of you and, all this stuff, He is a good father. And that's what I want to strive to be, is a good father to my kids. So,
yeah. And the ultimate goal, right, is to show them Jesus, to show them hunting, conservation, right? All these great things, and just being a good human all around. And I think that's really important to understand the reason, right? That's how this whole conversation started, right? I kept hearing reason for the season, and then I just thought about, what's the reason? Why do I do what I do? Why do I hunt? Why do I trap and blah 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 and all these other things? And I'm really glad we're talking about this, because I think it's important for people to know. Like, there's a whole backstory, right? All you see, right, is, and in most shows, right, I like to think Rooted does a pretty good job of telling the story. I like to think we do that, but I also think talking about it is just another way to show people. So but in a lot of these hunting things, whether it's social media clips or other shows or whatever, it's like all you see is this 9-day hunt, right, that these people went on, or these people were in camp for 5 days, and it's all down to 20 minutes.
Yep.
And they just don't see all the stuff that goes into it. And I think it's important for people to see that. It's important for like we're saying, our kids to see that and to understand, to fully understand all the things that go into it. And man, other than that, I just think that's all there is. And I'll talk lastly here for just a minute on kind of the third lane. We've kind of touched on it there, but the whole point of going out, really, for me, we got the conservation, we got the meat, we got all that, but for me, man, it's just so peaceful to be out there, to kind of get away from life, and then ultimately to just be closer to God, whatever that looks like, whether I'm in a tree stand or I'm yelping in a turkey, or I got circling ducks above me. Like, it just does something to you, man. It almost just hits your reset button every time you go out there, and you just get away from the noise of life, and get away from your phone and whatever little dumb nagging issues that aren't really even issues. But it's just really nice to get out there, get closer, hit the reset button, and breathe.
That's it, brother. That's what it's all about, is being in God's creation. And I find that the longer I sit in the woods, the closer I get to Him. And I'm not perfect, man. I
Mhm.
don't read my Bible every day like I should. I need to. I should read it every single day. But man, look, that's the thing. That's
Yeah.
one point I want to bring across right here at the end of this. People are like, man, how can you claim to be a Christian and still you fail all the time? Well, that's a great question, because the answer to that is I have to pick up my cross daily. I need Jesus daily. It's not a one-time thing and then it's over. I need Christ every single day because I am a failed human. I will always fail. I will always be a sinful human. But with Jesus every day, we can do the best that we can do. And that's that. I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be. Nobody's ever going to be perfect except for Jesus. He's the only perfect person that
Yeah.
ever walked the face of the earth. So that's what I'm getting at, is we have to pick up our cross every day. We have to have Jesus every single day. Period.
I totally agree. So the
10-4.
bottom line, do whatever you can for your critters. Eat them, share it with your whole family, and be closer to God and enjoy the process.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there you go.
Love God, love your critters, and well, let me rephrase that. Love God, take care of your family and feed them, and love your critters. Well, folks,
There you
that's going to
go. Simple
be,
as that.
simple as that. Folks, this is going to be all for us today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, we have a store that is open now. Go to rootedtelevision.com, click shop, and there will take you, and you can get Rooted Podcast merch and Rooted Television merch. We have hats, shirts, hoodies, a little bit of everything. Head over to the website and grab your gear. And don't forget, we also are on all social media platforms. Like, subscribe, share to try to help us grow this thing. We're just, a couple old rednecks having fun, but we do appreciate any and all support. Thank you guys so much. Redneck is out.
Thank y'all for listening. See ya.
For all things Rooted Podcast and Rooted Television, and I mean hats, shirts, hoodies, and other merch, check out our friends at CH Lone Star Pro and the link that is in our description.